1 second. And we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, Kosmographia, the Randall Carlson podcast. Glad to be here live with you all on YouTube. I see a bunch of you in the chat already.
How's it going, everybody?
And Brad can't be here with us tonight, unfortunately. He's got some things to take care of, but we still wanted to come on live. And so I got a couple of questions, Randall. I know you guys are about to do a trip, and hopefully I'm going to get to be there. Right, I wasn't at the last one. The last one was Lower Cumberland. Now we're doing Middle Cumberland. Is there going to be an Upper or Northern
Yes.
Cumberland? Yes. Okay. And where does that?
Yes.
Where's the farthest north of that?
Well, good
Just
question.
Just a guess.
I guess. Well, let's see. We'll be. You mean this one or
no? Like if we did a Northern Cumberland tour?
We'd
farthest north we go?
Get up into Kentucky. We'd probably do Middlesboro.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. Do you know about Middlesboro, Kentucky?
I don't.
Well, let me inform you. Middlesboro, Kentucky is a town, obviously, in Kentucky, just over the border from Tennessee. And it's built inside of an astrobleme.
Ah.
And it's kind of interesting, actually. Been there one time. And I've been wanting to go back. Yeah, Brad and I went there. God, this quite a few years ago, actually. And let's see if I can pull up. Let me see.
Well, I know we want to show some pictures and some maps of where this next tour is going. And what is that starting on? What day is that starting on, that tour?
Well, it's 6 days from now?
Yeah.
Sunday, next Sunday?
Next Sunday,
Okay.
yes. Next Sunday. So this is Monday. So six days. Yeah,
Okay,
6
yeah.
days from now, right?
6 days from now.
So there's still some spaces left.
There are.
And if you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing.
And it's is it 4 or 5 days? How long is it?
It's 4 full days and an extra part of a day.
Okay. We got to have some extra partying time. That's
yes.
What that is. Yeah. Okay, good.
That's the idea.
Yeah, it's the 13th through the 17th, to
Okay.
clarify.
All right.
There we go. The 13th.
What you were getting at.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate that. And by the way, this is Laura. For people in the chats or anyone watching that doesn't know, Laura is the social media manager and also art. She's an artist that works with us. And
Yeah, I'm the creative director.
Creative director. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Okay.
The
Get this
creative
right
director.
Encompasses all those things.
Right.
Yeah. And Slack picker-upper.
There is a lot of slack in this group, I can tell
There's
you.
a lot of Slack. Yeah.
There is,
Randall and I are
so Laura's got a pretty
slackers.
much full-time job
That's
keeping
right.
Yeah.
the
So far,
slack.
starting out at full time. Work our way up.
Oh, hey, I see Chris from Dabbler's Den is in the chat. What's up, buddy?
Hey.
And we already got a donation, super chat from someone unseen, $10. Hey, Randall and Co. from a soggy and inundated Sydney, Australia. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, unseen
Yeah.
donator. Let me do a quick share screen here.
All right.
Just because we talked about Middlesboro, I think it'd be cool to show this here. I'm going to zoom out on Google Maps so you can see here's Knoxville, Chattanooga, Nashville. So Middle Cumberland tour is going to be in this area here. And we're going to be covering a lot of the Highland Rim, the Plateau. This is the Plateau country here. We're going to be, a couple of the nights, we're going to be staying here in Fall Creek Falls State Park right here. And I was just going to show you Middlesboro. Middlesboro is not on this trip, but would be on the Upper Cumberland tour. Now here you see Middlesboro. I'm going to zoom in, and can you see the circular depression here?
I see it.
Yeah, it's an ancient impact crater.
Okay, so that's an astrobleme.
It's an astrobleme. And right here is the famous Cumberland Gap. You know, Daniel Boone leading settlers through the Cumberland Gap, all that. There's that famous painting. Who did that painting? It'll come to me in a second. Anyways, this is like a fault line that opened up in the rim, and it became a way of Cumberland Gap. Look here, we got pictures. Oops. Let's see. Now, if I open this, you're seeing it, right?
We see it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. So let me see, try to get oriented here. So this is the gap coming right through here. So that gap is a fault line that's opened up. It's a ultimately the result of the impact. I'm going to zoom out here. Yeah, you can see it's right here. See 25E where it goes through here.
Yep.
Right here. Here we go. Here we go. See what gap cave right there. And here's Cumberland Gap marker. So here's the gap. It comes through like this. So this is a lot of the westward bound settlers utilize this gap to get through the mountains. And then, as you come through, then you open out into this open area here, which is Middlesboro. Let's see if we can get Middlesboro.
So is it George Caleb Bingham was the painter of that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. George Caleb Bingham. I should have remembered that. He's one of my favorites.
Man, that is beautiful right there with the clouds pouring out of the.
Yeah. So here you can see here, this is the rim.
Yeah.
And then I imagine that this is the gap right here. I'm not sure. But yeah, if you took the clouds away, the town is down here in the basin. Let's see if there's any more. See, this
So we don't want to get too far off on that one, right? But
Yeah,
what was that? The astrobleem was on the left there in the map, and on the right there was that whole other open area. What's
here? You mean? Oh,
no,
I'm going to stop this share and go back to this. Let's see. I had that open. Why did I do that? There we go. Okay, what are you talking about, Laura?
So zoom out.
This area?
Where the gap leads to. Yeah, that whole
to the southeast?
Right there.
Well, this is all part of the Valley and Ridge province, which is a whole nother geological story in itself. It's a result of compressive forces causing this upfolding of the rock,
right?
Almost accordion-like. And then once that's the first stage of this creation of this landscape, and the second stage is the erosion that's taken place. There's been an enormous amount of erosion. So first you have the uplifting and the accordion-like effect of the rocks, and then you have flooding and erosional events that particularly will focus on the, obviously on the troughs, the valley, and the ridge. See, so the water will focus in the valley, and then it'll tend to downcut the valley and then leave the whole landscape in much greater relief than it otherwise would have. And so you can see if I zoom out, this is a really interesting phenomenon. So you can see the whole valley and ridge comes down like this, goes up. Let's see, let's get to the very bottom of it. The very bottom of it is actually in Georgia. Lookout Mountain is part of this. Chattanooga's built down on the floor of the valley. And another thing that gets really interesting to me is when you start looking at geomorphology. For example, look at the Tennessee River here that comes through Chattanooga, and notice how it cuts through the uplift here. Let me see if I was to go to Google Earth. Let's see if I can get Google Earth here. I bet I can, and then we can see what the here we go. Then we can see what the differential is here between a valley and a ridge. Now this is actually going to be part of the tour. We're gonna get into that. Let's see, an understanding relationship between the plateau region and the valley and ridge. So these would be what you would call geomorphic provinces or geologic provinces. So we have the valley and ridge as one geological province or geomorphic province, and the Cumberland Plateau is another one. So let's see, here we are in Google Earth now. Now, are we seeing Google Earth, or do I need to reshare?
Yep, no, we see it.
Oh, hey.
Doing good,
That's
yeah.
kind of cool. Okay, so let's check this out. Okay, so I'm up on the plateau here. My elevation is 1,778 feet. When I go down to the river here, my elevation is 638 feet. So this is more than 1,000 feet difference between the upland, the plateau surface, and the valley. That's 1,000 feet. In this case, it's a little more than 1,000 feet. So now how come the river, let's go back to the map. Probably don't need that one. Go back to this map. So why does the river cut across the plateau instead of just being diverted south along the low elevation landscapes? Think about that for a minute.
Was something blocking it from going south when it was
It
being
would have
formed?
been had to been much greater volume of water cutting through.
Well,
A
see,
weak point in
Mike
that.
might actually, I mean, yeah, that could be it. I'm going to zoom out for a second. We're going to jump over to Washington State and we are going to look.
Stuart C in the chat says, Mike, be quiet.
No. In this case, he was actually, yeah. All right. You guys remember this feature here?
Oh, yes. Devil's Canyon.
Devil's Canyon. Now, Devil's Canyon. Okay. Hey, let's tell you what, let's get a Google Earth. I'm going to zoom out on Google Earth, go over here, zoom back in on Devil's Canyon. This should be it right here. Yeah, this is it. You can see it here. Look, there's the Devil's Bench.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let me put this in 3D. So you can see what, let me go.
I don't have my 3D glasses.
Oh, well. Okay, let's let it rotate around. Here you can see Devil's Canyon. Okay, so let's talk about how Devil's Canyon was formed. Oh, here, this is a good perspective here. And we could actually, you know what? I bet you we could actually pull up. I've got Ben X's incredible drone footage that he took of the canyon when we were out there. But let's take a look here. In this right here, this you see, this is Washtuckna Coulee. You guys remember that, right?
I think so.
We went there the
Yeah,
first on the
yeah.
first one, I think.
That's right.
But
Yeah.
we didn't go there on the second one.
Right. I think.
Okay. Well, okay. So now
I was
let's.
gonna make
It's just
I was Washtuckna in the van joke, and I don't think I got to on the second one.
We're stuck.
We're stuck.
We're
behind the van.
stuck. Yeah,
We're stuck now.
we're stuck in a van.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
You guys can hear the quality of the commentary we get on these trips.
Yeah, exactly.
There's lots of puns.
Yeah, which every time I think of puns, the master punster that I ever knew in my whole life was our old friend Jeremy that
Yeah,
we
that's what
talked
you
about
said.
from time to
Uh-huh.
time.
Sam Squanch Jeremy. You talking about?
Yeah, what did you call him?
Sam Squanch Jeremy. Right?
Yeah, you went. Didn't he marry a Sam Squanch?
Oh, a Sam Squatch.
Yeah, Sam Squanch Jeremy. Come on.
Sam Squatch. Okay, yeah. Yeah, good man though. I've always really liked Jeremy and I miss him.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun together and he was, I've never known anyone who quite had the facility of punning than he did. I mean, he spun them out of the ethers somewhere. And anyhow, Devil's Canyon right there. Okay, so now how did Devil's Canyon form? Let me see if I can't zoom back around here and we'll zoom out and take a look at this landscape here. All right, we can very clearly see the Palouse River coming down here, right? Rolling off of the Palouse uplands, the Palouse loess soil, that this undulating, stormy sea topography that's so cool. All right, you see the Palouse River flowing down here, flowing down like this. And then all of a sudden right here, it makes this sharp turn, right?
Yeah.
See that? Here comes the river, makes this sharp turn. Well, that wasn't the original route to the river. The original route of the river took it right down here through what is now Washtuckna Coulee. Right on down here. And if we follow this down like this, we see that that water flowed out. You can see all of the water carving, water sculpting all in here. And then, of course, it ultimately led to the Columbia River, right? that was Washtucknacoolie. You see it right here. You see, you can follow it right here like this. And then somewhere it would have been right in here. If I zoom in, you can see that there's evidence of water flow. Yeah, look here. You see this eroded area here, and you can actually make out the channel here. So this is all part of the water coming down Washtucknacoolie. All right. So what happened here was there was a capture event. So when the waters, and you'll understand why I'm going into this in a second, the waters are pouring down here through Cheney Palouse, washing away huge amounts of the loess topsoil, in some cases over 200 feet, 250 feet of this loess topsoil. And remember, it's laying like a blanket right on top of the bare black basalt bedrock, right? So once that water washes through that 100, 200, 250 feet of topsoil, it's down on bedrock. And then it's going to wash away the topsoil quite readily. The topsoil offers very little resistance to the onrush of these waters. Now, when it hits the bedrock, of course, now the bedrock is going to offer more resistance. However, the force of the water, the shear forces, the shear forces of the water are going to be ripping and quarrying out the basalt bedrock and ultimately forming channels. It's going to form the famous Butte Basin topography that we saw so much of in Drumheller channels. Remember the Butte Basin topography was very well exemplified in Drumheller channels. So anyways, here, let's get back to this so I can get to my point. You can see what happened here is because the water, what it did, there was a divide, a watershed divide, or a divide between two catchment basins, right? So this upper region here, am I still in Google Earth? Okay, so let's go to here. My elevation is 1,370 feet. Now, when I go to the Snake River, my elevation is 549 feet. Okay, so let's call it 550, so 1,370 minus 550. So that's a difference of 820 feet. Now, Washtucknacoolie, let's see the floor there, 885 feet. So 885 feet from 1,370 feet. So basically 800 feet to 1,300 feet, right? So that's like 500 feet difference. Okay, so in other words, it's 500 feet from here up to the ridge, to the watershed divide. And then it was another, what did I say? 1,000 feet down to the Snake. So the point is that the water, the normal water of the Palouse never flowed over the ridge. What this is called the interfluve, right? Here's a good term for you, Kyle, especially. The interfluve. Fluvial means the flowing water. The interfluve is the elevated region that's going to be found between two flowing water, whether it's a river or creek or whatever. Now, if you're in the hill country and you've got two creeks flowing, and then you've got the elevated region between them, the technical term there is interfluve.
Right.
So this whole thing was the interfluve. So for who knows how many years, millennia, thousands upon thousands of years, the water never overtopped the interfluve. Now you have the Scablands flood comes along, the water overtops the interfluve. And when it does that, now typically you're going to, let's think of this like almost like a ridge, a bulwark. You've got this elevated area. Now in that elevated area, because it's nature, it's not going to be perfectly level like a levee or a dam built by humans. It's going to have low spots. It's going to have higher spots. It maybe have some fault lines through it, some fractures, whatever. There's going to be zones of weakness or zones of opportunity for the flowing water, the erosional effects of the flowing water to become concentrated. Let's think of it that maybe there's a saddle up there. Well, now the water starts flowing through there. Now, normally the water never would reach that saddle. But in the case of these exceptional floods, the water rises up, it overflows the saddle. And then what does it start doing? Once it starts overflowing, it'll start down cutting. It'll start incising and deepening that low spot within the interfluve. That's exactly what happened here. And that's how the Palouse River got captured. Now, on top of that, you can zoom in here. you see there's a whole bunch of sediment that's been deposited. Now, this is just huge amounts of sediment in here that was, you know, the erosional material, the loess topsoil that was excavated by the flowing water, right? So a whole bunch of it. When this here hit the interfluve, basically it caused the water to spread out. When it did, it began to lose some of its momentum and began to drop the sediment. So when we zoom in here, we can see that a lot of this is just like a big piled up. Look here, you can see right here. See, it's almost like a sedimentary dam. So between the down cutting and then the deposition of this material, which sort of acted as a dam, the Palouse River was captured. And then it was diverted through what is now Palouse Canyon, right? Palouse Falls there, magnificent Palouse Falls, is a remnant of this gigantic rush of water that overtopped the interfluve and created this spillway. Well, and the same thing happened here with Devil's Canyon. The difference, of course, is because once the Palouse River got diverted, you know, if you were able to block the inlet here to the canyon up here in the top and reroute the Palouse River down this way, well, it wouldn't be enough. It probably would. Well, maybe it would. It maybe would divert right through here where the roadway comes, and then it would then be captured by Devil's Canyon, which is right here. Okay, so in other words, now Devil's Canyon, as you guys saw, has no water running through it. It's a big, impressive canyon, probably carved in a matter literally of days, because you're having maybe 100 million cubic feet per second of water flowing through here. In the force, the erosional power of that much water is almost inconceivable. But so here you have, in effect, what you might call well, it's a watershed divide. Let me see, what do they call it? A water gap or a wind. This would be a wind gap. This you could think of as a water gap. Here, a wind gap, because nothing but the wind flows through there. Over here, a water gap. Now, when we zoom back out after this little excursion, we're going to come back. I tell you what, I'm going to go back to Google Maps.
I've said this before on the show, but what struck me the most about visiting Devil's Canyon was, I mean, I've been in a lot of canyons, and most of them, you can tell that they were cut by some, you know, larger amount of water or whatever, but always in the bottom, there's a smaller stream, or at least evidence of a stream bed of some kind, right? Devil's Canyon doesn't have that.
Right.
That's what's most amazing about it, is because so you can tell it was a one-time event.
Oh, yes.
And it's just, and it's not continuing. You know, it doesn't have a stream going through it. It's too high for that. It's amazing to see it in person.
Yeah, it totally is. So now I'm going to back out, and I'm going to come back here to the Valley and Ridge Province. Let's zoom in here. Let's see if we can find some really good examples here. Let's see here. There's quite a few of them, actually, but I'm looking for some really prominent.
So you're making a
ones.
comparison to that, saying that there was an overflow, like that these rivers would fill up on one side and then they would flow over the top of these ridges and cut
okay,
through?
so here's a water gap right here.
Yeah, okay.
Now notice you've got this huge ridge. Now, what's the conventional explanation? Well, the conventional explanation is this: the land starts lifting up. There's already a river or a stream or whatever flowing there, right? And then the land starts lifting up. And now get this, for that to work, the down cutting and the uplift are happening at the same rate.
Yeah.
So as this uplifts, the down cutting is incising at the same rate that the land is being uplifted. But I just showed you an example that has a completely different explanation.
Yeah.
Where the water rises up and overtops the divide and then cuts a channel, and that channel now captures whatever river or body of water is flowing there. So now we come back and we can look at the Valley and Ridge Province, and we see numerous examples of this cutting through the ridge.
So is there a rate at which those things are still rising, the ridges?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. I mean, the folding that occurred is very old.
So it's done.
So yeah, the folding is presumably done, or at least, yeah. I mean, we're looking at a very ancient process. Look at right here.
So they think those rivers they think those rivers are older than that folding.
Well, that would be the implication. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that would be the implication right there. And so let's come back down here to Chattanooga. You can follow this whole amazing landscape.
The only thing that's different though is that, like, in this case, you don't see that giant spill of sediment that would have blocked the original pathway. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't see a dead river down below that's next to the ridge.
Well, I don't know. Do we, I don't know, because I haven't looked at core logs or anything from this area here. So I don't know what the floor of the valleys are made of, other than that I think what I recall is that they are very thick layers of sediment.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean, here you can see the river has cut through the upland, and of course then you
the
can
major
see
difference
that
there too is that it's a meander, whereas the other ones are just like straight lines.
Yeah.
Or do you think that has to do with the
fractures?
let's imagine a scenario. For example, let's imagine that take a look at Sequatchie Valley. Well, at one time, this rock, which is mostly limestone, was continuous across here. So at some point, Sequatchie Valley had to have been cut, right? And all of these tributary valleys coming in from the side could not be downcut until Sequatchie Valley had been cut,
That
right?
follows, yeah.
But let's suppose that at some point this was a continuous layer of rock across here, and you have maybe a meandering river across it, and then you start getting a flood or a series of very large floods, and as a result, the pre-existing river valley, which is a meandering river, that becomes just, like I said before, like you have a saddle, you have some low spot or something. It could be a pre-existing river valley. And so the water of a mega flood is naturally going to be channeled along a pre-existing valley, first of all. And if it succeeds in cutting down, I mean, think about what we saw out there at on the San Juan River at Gooseneck's Overlook.
Oh yeah.
I've pondered how that came to be. And I'm still don't think that I'm clear on it, but maybe it was a scenario similar to that. I keep looking because Bella's really wanting to come in and join the conversation.
Let her in.
Well,
no one will mind a dog appearance, I don't think.
Yeah, but if she goes to sleep, she has a serious snoring.
Ah, okay. No snoring.
And people would be wondering what that was.
Yeah.
What's this rumbling? There's some audio distortion going on here.
Well, we do need to talk about the this tour that's coming up, because it's the thing that's about to happen.
Well, yeah, and so in a way, coming at it backwards, that's kind of what I'm getting to, is because all of these valleys, these canyons and gorges that are coming in here that you see that are cut down into the Plateau province are extraordinary. They're spectacular. And for most of the time, you could literally think of this as a hidden landscape, because unlike when we are out, in the Southwest, for example, everything is exposed. You see all the rocks,
right?
When you're up in the Scablands, we see the cataracts and we see the geological features. Typically here, you don't usually, unless you go out in the winter, and typically tourists are not going there looking for this. Hikers will see this stuff without necessarily knowing what they're really even looking at. But clearly there's huge amounts of erosion that have gone on here. And some of the things would suggest that the erosion was catastrophic. You remember when we, let's see, did you guys, let's see, were you guys there when we went to Nakalula Falls? Or you guys weren't part of that one, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think you guys were.
We were there on the first Arizona trip you did, but not the second one.
Well, Nakalula Falls is actually in Alabama, and this was the
that was Lower Cumberland, right?
That was Lower Cumberland.
Okay, yeah,
yes.
we weren't able to make it to that one either. We had just gotten back from Egypt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nakalula Falls. Let me do a share screen here, and you'll see this is pretty amazing. See, Nakalula Falls is right in the pathway. It's in one. Let's see if I can find a good one here. We'll look at quick. Let's see. I'll do go up here. Tools.
Well, you
size.
While you're getting that
large.
together, should we call out some? We've got some donations to call out here.
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, Captain Menes, who was donating last time, and we told him to go to the volunteer. He says he's sent a volunteer email through the website, and he's been waiting for a reply. He donated.
He's going to get one.
Yeah.
I'm taking them in the order that they came.
Yes, there's lots.
And there was 4,376 in front of. No, not that many, but yeah, I'm getting. He's on the list, and I'm working my way down because I said, how am I going to handle this? Well, I'm going to just do it in the order that the communications come in.
Okay.
So hey, cut me some slack, man.
Yeah.
Hey, he's donating
cut me
more
some
right now.
slack.
Yep. $50 from Captain. So thank you very much, Bruce.
Thank
also,
you, Captain.
Yeah.
Listen.
Bruce,
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Bruce,
very much.
Bruce sends us some beer money. He says $10.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, Bruce.
Bruce, our Bruce Wayne, our old
That's
friend.
right, Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Charles Beverly, $7. Says they're coming to the Sedona event, and it's going to be their birthday.
It's gonna be his birthday.
His birthday, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
$10 from Luke, $200 from Crypto Chris. Thank you so much.
Crypto Chris, you the man.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Rex, $20, and $400, another $400 from Captain Menes. He said he calls it the Submarine Fund.
Ah, the submarine fund.
That's right. That's what he was asking about last time, was about the submarine.
Maybe, since I tend to be claustrophobic, I was thinking, who could I elect to go in my place?
Well, there you go.
To take-
I mean,
take
I'll
pictures.
do it. Like, I love that kind of stuff, but
I know I do too. If I can just get over the.
I'm totally not claustrophobic, so I'll be fine.
Just get a
Really?
big submarine.
Yeah. Yeah, big one with about
But
a
I mean,
1,000-foot diameter.
But I mean, he's already a captain, so we should just let him do
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Rex, who donated $20, says, "Thank you. I stand corrected. It turns out I've been using the term wind gap quite wrong for years. This is my favorite live stream."
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is that a
So-
euphemism?
Do you guys see this picture of Nakalula Falls?
We're still seeing Google Maps.
Seeing Google Maps. Okay. Well, then I'm going to have to. Okay. Then let me do a share screen. There's so many different. You got to stop share. There it
Yeah, there
is.
you go. Stop
Stuff
share
gets
and then-
hidden. Have you ever noticed that when you're doing a share screen, you're
can
trying to
get
get
hidden,
back
yeah.
and how do
Yep.
I get out of here? Stuff got hidden. Okay.
No problems.
All right.
Zero mistakes, folks.
Okay, let's look at some photos of Nakalula Falls. You are
So is
seeing
this
this
one
now.
of the places you guys are going,
Yes.
or okay?
Yeah. Now,
No,
notice
this is
here.
from the last one.
This is Lower
This is-
Cumberland. Okay.
This
this
is
is
Lower
lower.
Cumberland.
Still
yeah,
not
this
the
is
tour
not
that
on
you're
this one.
about to do.
Still not on this one.
However, we are going to see some falls that are this spectacular. Now, this falls isn't very spectacular at this point. However, sometimes it looks like this.
Oh man, look at that.
Let's see. Yeah, look, this is during a snowstorm.
Good one.
Here we go. There we go.
Who's that?
Wow.
Well, that is the legend of the maiden that took her life by jumping into the falls.
Oh,
forget the exact story. I think she was jilted. I don't remember what the
Typically.
story was. But yeah, so Nakalula Falls. So Nakalula Falls, as you could see, was a very interesting feature. And the thing that about it here, let's go to this one. You can see the down cutting and the you can see view enlarged image. Okay, let's go to that one. So here you can see the undercutting. Now that undercutting has to do with enormous turbulence. Like the modern water flow is not doing this undercutting. This is when you have extreme eddy flows and backflows. You can have eddies going this way or this way. Either one can create this overhanging effect like you see here. And so this is actually right on a, if I go back to Google Maps.
I liked in that that promo for the new tour, you had a graphic of how those eddies were, which I think is the first time I've seen that graphic that you showed. That was a good one.
And you know, I want to give credit to our new fellow we're working with, Elias or Rivas, who put that together. He and I recorded that. He put it together. I think he did a really good job considering how quickly he did it. Excuse me. Okay, so let's see here. I was going to quickly show you on the map Nakalula Falls. There we go, near Gadsden, and here we are, right here. Okay, so now let's check this out. If we zoom in, falls.
Hold on, we're not seeing what you're looking at, Randall. You got to share it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Then I got to stop share, which means I have to find.
No, we're not sharing.
Oh, so you can't just magically see what I'm seeing?
That's right. There we go.
There we go. Okay. There. Now I'm going to zoom out so you can see what's happening here. This is Lookout Mountain, and you can see that this thing is like a trough, an elevated trough, right? The rims are higher, and so water presumably is the result. I mean, presumably precipitation. I don't know, but a lot of water flowing over the top of this thing. And look, you can see what's happening here. It kind of almost is funnel. The layout of the land, the topography almost creates this funnel effect. And as that water is coming over right here, let's go to there's the falls right there. And we looked at this, remember on the advanced map viewer, we looked at this valley here, and it was strewn with gigantic boulders. Mm-hmm. Well, those boulders, first of all, you've got your alcove, you've got your horseshoe-shaped alcove, which is a function of how water erodes. And I'm going to pull up a graph in a minute here to show you how that works. And then below the falls, you have this trough, this valley, which is obscured by the foliage. And again, remember I said that so much of what we have in the east is a hidden landscape. If we could strip away all of the greenery and the trees and stuff and look at this just as the bare bedrock, you would see that there's these huge erosional megaflood features everywhere, just like there is in the Pacific Northwest. So
are they smaller out there though? They're smaller, yeah.
They're smaller
in general. Okay.
However, as far as going on this upcoming tour, some of the ones that we're going to be seeing are pretty spectacular. I mean, are on a very, in fact, where we're going to be staying at the lodge, Fall Creek Falls, the waterfall there is in a massive, very impressive cataract. And of course, the modern falls is just diminutive, tiny compared to the cataract, right?
So who do we talk to get a complete devegetation of this area so we can really see it?
I'll get to work on that. If
All
we
right,
can't,
good.
just try to clear cut, strip away every tree, every shrub, every blade of grass,
and remove most of the topsoil because we just need to see the rock, right? Yeah.
It'll be the same person that drains the Atlantic for us, so we don't have to go in a submarine.
Okay.
Oh, that person.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay.
We could
All
just
right.
get back to his email. I'm sure we could get it done.
So anyhow, okay, so where we go? Oh, yes. So I want to pull up a graphic here. Let's see. I think we've got measurement. Yeah, here we go. All right. So I'm going to have to unshare and then reshare. Or no, we're not sharing now, are we?
Right.
So here we go. Share. All right. So what we're looking at here, this is just about scour, measurement of flow and bed shear stress. We don't need to get into all of that. The flow field measurement. This is how you calculate is using these. This is laboratory equipment to simulate these various hydraulic events and so forth. But we're going to skip over that. And the whole point of this is measuring what's called the bed shear stress, which is the resistance to being eroded by the flowing water. Because again, here you have a perfect example of shear. Remember, compression is this, right? Compression is what causes that accordion effect. Tension pulls things apart, right? So you might have a tensional feature that's produced by things being pulled apart. Shear, is this. It's when two planes are sliding against each other. Now, one of those could be bedrock and one of them could be flowing water. But that interface between the two, that's where these shear forces are concentrated. See, so this is an apparatus that's designed to measure the amount of shear. And then that can be used in various hydraulic formulas to determine erosional rates and things like that. But I'm going to come down here and show you here this graph here, which is the conduit flow. And basically what you've got here is depth. And then here you've got the flow, which is typically represented by the letter Q. So this is like 0.53 gallons per second. And that's the blue 0.66 gallons per second. And the greatest volume is at 1.6 gallons per second, right? Now, this is what's called your velocity profile. So when this water is flowing, you can actually measure the velocity at different points within the flow. And when you do that, what you discover is that the velocity profile across the flow is not uniform, right? It's actually slower. Horizontally, it's slower towards the edges. Vertically, it's slower towards the bottom. Does that make sense? Now, what's happening is it's flowing in this conduit, right? And so what they're doing here is they're measuring the velocity of flow, and that gives a flow profile, a velocity profile, right? Well, you look at this, and what you see, it's got this parabolic shape. So here is showing 0.53 gallons per second. And what this is doing is you can see here you've got inches, and what this is showing is basically that it's a faster flow in the middle of the flow than when you get to the edge of the flow. Now, as you increase the volume, look what happens to the eccentricity of the parabola until you get up to 1.6 gallons per second. And now look at how steep, how eccentric that parabola is, right? Now, this velocity profile is the inverse of the power to erode. So think about this. What's going to happen is where the water is flowing the fastest, it's going to be eroding the fastest. Where it's moving the slowest, it's going to be eroding the slowest, right? So when you look at a cataract, what you're actually seeing is the inverse of the velocity profile of the water. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so what we're seeing with those curves there is that much stronger flow out there to the right is showing that the strength of the flow actually increases much quicker as you get away from the shore or the edges.
Yes.
Than it does with the lower volume flows.
Yes,
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so
that's why it's so steep. Yeah.
That could be reflected in the falls too, in the cataract.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to be reflected. You could almost take this, see the inverse, because the water is flowing faster.
Right.
What that means is that the cataract is going to be just the almost like the mirror image of the velocity profile.
That's cool.
And in the steepness, the sharpness of the eccentricity of the cataract shape is almost in a sense, as you can see right here, the volume increase is also presumably going to be accompanied with a velocity increase, because now there's greater hydraulic pressure pushing,
Yeah.
I mean, yourself, when you see a river at flowing like during floods, that water's moving way faster
Oh yeah.
than say it's a creek or a river would be normal flow times. So this is right here. This is your horseshoe shaped cataract right here. And that's the explanation for it.
Do you think there's a reason that they're kind of lopsided and not symmetrical, or is that just
I don't really know. I mean, because there's going to be multiple variables in here, and I haven't really. Let's see. There might be an explanation for that in here.
Okay.
Let's see. Figure 21 illustrates a typical set of velocity profiles for the combination flow with both the pump and the moving belt together. Each of the runs in the figure is for so blah blah. So it could be, these factors could have something to do with it. Let's see. Figure 19. Let's say I think this is figure 19. So it says displays a typical set of velocity profiles for a rectangular conduit flow with the
it's running across sandpaper.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because by varying the sandpaper, two things. You get your you're
gonna get a better friction profile.
Roughness. It gives you a roughness coefficient that goes into your equation. That's the term, the roughness coefficient. And so by varying the sandpaper, it will affect the water flow, right? In fact, the greater the coarseness of the sandpaper, the more turbulence there's going to be in the water. And it's exactly the same out there in the actual natural landscapes. So that's what's going on here. The velocity profiles of the rectangular conduit flows are parabola shaped with maximum velocity in the middle of the flow. So there now, I think you have kind of a theoretical understanding of the relationship between hydraulic flow of water, hydraulic flow, and the landscapes that it produces. And now you understand the formation of a horseshoe-shaped cataract.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, that's cool.
Let's see some pictures of where you guys are going.
Okay.
We've been promising people that since we started. We got to do it.
Well, okay then. Let's see here.
I think this whole thing just proved to me that there is an immutable law of the universe that no matter what topic you start with, Randall can always end up in the Scablands. It doesn't matter.
Pretty sure.
We should write that down as like a law.
6 degrees of the Scablands.
6 ways to the Scablands.
Try 6 ways to the Scablands.
All right, we'll look at some of these places we are going to visit. Okay, share screen. There we go. All right, so this is
oh wow.
Yeah, you like
now
this?
that's like the reverse of what we were just Weird.
Well, now bear in mind, in nature, you've got a lot of variable things happening.
Yeah.
Notice though here the undercutting. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. And if we could see this from the air, I would bet, because look at this wall over here. There would be a matching wall on this. Oh, I know what this is. This is right. The reason is because you have a major elevation differential between this side of the creek and this side. So this is actually several hundred feet lower down here in the lower right-hand corner. So this is an unusual case. This is where the water came up to the rim and then created this waterfall over this rim. We're going to visit this place and we'll be able to see it in the field, what that is like. I'll go to this one. This is Cane Creek.
I would have guessed it was just harder stone there and it couldn't erode it.
Well, no, you'd probably be guessing right.
Oh, okay.
You would probably be guessing right.
Really interesting, though. Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can pull up some more pictures of it here. This is Cane Creek Falls, and we can see this cliff is one side of the cataract. And then it wraps around horseshoe-like over here, pretty much, and goes on my computer right where Laura is. All right. This is Cummins Falls.
Oh, yeah.
And here you can, the falls will really expose the layering the bedding
Yes.
of the. This is again mostly limestones in here.
It looks like that lowest fall there, that cataract is made from a very slow moving water action because it's basically
It's
straight
almost
across.
straight, yeah.
It's straight
slightly
across,
bowed,
yeah. But again, notice right here, if you look at my cursor down here in the lower left, it wraps right around in this.
right up there.
Horseshoe
Yeah, there
shape.
is like an overall curve. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, there is. This is the falls at Fall Creek Falls. This is on
Wow.
the park where we're going to be staying in the lodge. You'll notice the undercutting.
Is that limestone?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the alcove here, of course, is huge relative to the modern falls.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if I can see any people in here for scale, but yeah, this is a very impressive cataract when you're there and you see it.
Well, you can kind of get the scale from the trees if those are normal
Yeah.
trees. Yeah.
Those are trees.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, this is just a picture of the lodge. One picture of the lodge where we're going to be staying, and then not so much geological, but I'm very interested in this is built, I think, mostly with local rock. This is the chapel there, the Episcopal Chapel at Sewanee, and All Saints Chapel. We're going to visit that because this is a really beautiful example of late Gothic revival architecture in North America. The architect, whose name eludes me at the moment, he went to Europe, traveled, and studied the geometry and the ideas and the symbolism of the Gothic cathedrals, came back to America and designed and built this. This was built mostly in the 19th and early 20th century, and it's phenomenally beautiful. I got some more pictures. I don't know how they got out of order like this, but we'll look at some more. This is Foster Falls. We've got Roaring River Falls. And here you can see the layering of the limestone. It's pretty impressive. And of course, all of this is basically changing nearshore environments. And then this is one of the two twin arches. There's two of these rock arches that we're going to visit. And I've always been very interested in rock arches because, once again, I've tried to come up with a uniformitarian explanation for the formation of arches, and I'm not really doing a good job of it. And what we actually see when we look at modern rock arches and bridges is that they tend to be in a slow, prolonged process of destruction. We've even seen a number of them collapse, but they're certainly being eroded slowly by modern processes. But I would defy anyone to show me an example of a rock arch being formed today. Show me and say, okay, there we have a rock arch being formed. We can go back and we can measure the amount of erosion or material removed a century or 2 centuries ago. We can see now that more has been removed. And if we keep doing this process for another, 10,000 years, 20,000 years or whatever, there's going to be a hole in this rock. We're going to have an arch or a bridge. However, the kinds of turbulent flows that you get in catastrophic mega floods can do the job. And you know how we know that is because we can see some examples of rock arches that have been formed in Grand Coulee. Now, there's no other conceivable way for those rock arches in Grand Coulee to have been formed except during mega floods. Because the incision of Grand Coulee, first of all, if you had a flow of 100 or 200 or 300 million cubic feet per second going through there now, those rock arches are obliterated, right? On the other hand, you couldn't have the rock arch there until the coulee was cut. So it looks like to me that the rock arches there would have been the product of the final stages of erosion of that water that cut Grand Coulee. But there's really no uniformitarian way at all to explain the existence of a rock arch in Grand Coulee. You're going to tell me that you can erode a hard basalt rock arch in 12 or 15,000 years or 18,000, whatever you accept as the date for Grand Coulee, it does not give you enough time to erode a rock arch with gradualistic water flows. So we have an example of a rock arch in Grand Coulee that we know was created by turbulent megafloods, which makes me suspect that rock arches everywhere, or most of the places we see them, are going to have been formed under conditions very different from the ones that are prevailing there now. So however, if that's the case, we're confronted with some interesting implications. One being that gigantic megafloods have affected far more landscapes than has been recognized up to this point. But I tell you what, I think that's where we're headed. I think we're headed right in there and realizing that large swaths of the Earth's surface have been affected by gigantic megafloods. And we're just now beginning to see the results of those kinds of processes in the history of this planet. And certainly in the case of the scablands, what's so interesting about that is one could look at this and think, oh, well, this must have been something that happened millions of years ago. Well, yeah, maybe. But then, of course, you got to ask the question, over millions of years, even with the modern erosional processes, how long could this thing last? Could it be millions of years old?
Right.
Could it be, or
fragile.
is it much younger? It's just like some of the pedestal rocks that you see out in places like Monument Valley and Valley of the Gods, these very slender rocks, spiring up into the air, 500, 600 feet high. And you got to go, okay, well, let's see. How quickly are they being eroded? When was the last time there was any kind of a seismic or volcanic event that would have caused some disruption to the landscape? And how resistant could these tall, skinny spires be to any kind of seismic movement at all? So, then that raises questions. How old are these rock features that we see in so many different locations? Maybe they aren't millions of the rocks themselves. Sure. I mean, these limestones were laid down during the Cretaceous times, right? So they are millions of years old, no question. But what about the erosional processes? That's what I'm getting at, because the deposition and lithification of the material that produced the rocks is one thing. The erosion that sculpted things like you're looking at here, the cataracts, the canyons, all of these kinds, the gorges, the slot canyons, all of these things, how quickly and how recently were they formed? So that's my question. So, okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is this is Twin Falls. So I wanted to jump back. I'm going to stop share for a second. And I think I'll go up to, let's see, we saw Nakalula Falls, which is not going to be on this tour. It was on the last tour, but I was going to pull up All Saints Chapel so we could get a view of the inside of this thing.
Okay.
And it's, I know you guys would appreciate this kind of stuff because it's some really awesome architecture.
Well, hopefully I'll get to see it. I was planning to go, and then I was thinking I may not be able to go, and now I'm back to thinking I'm going to be going. So hopefully I'll get to see all that stuff. Can't wait.
Yeah.
And people should join us. If anyone is interested in signing up, there still are some spots left. You can go to randallcarlson.com, look for the tours page.
We'd love to have at least a couple more people.
Yes, absolutely.
We'd love to have like 2 more people.
Or more.
Well, yeah, of course, more. But, okay, let's do
everyone in the chat. We want all of you to come. All 600 of you, or however many there
are. Well, I better get with Rowan, and he better reserve another SUV then.
Yeah, well.
We're going to do, he's reserved these passenger buses. So as we're going around, for one thing, we'll be able to stand up in them, which I love that idea. And they're going to be wraparound windows, so we're going to be able to see everything, which is going to be nice. All right, so there's All Saints Chapel from the front. And let's see here. Let's find a good interior shot. Here we go. Here's a interior shot. Let's see if I can open this view image. Let's try to get a bigger view. Here we go. You seeing this?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah. So let's see. Here's a great one. This one, I love this one.
Somebody's asking if the tours are dog friendly. That's a good
Well,
question.
good question. I mean, I don't think there's anybody on the tour who would not be dog friendly. I guess we
It
need
would
to
be
check
the
with the
lodge.
lodge.
Yeah, it would be the lodge.
I think they are.
Okay.
I think they are, but I would have to double check. I mean, I love dogs. I like to have dogs, little kids, everything on the trip.
Yep.
Um,
Wait, dogs and do you equate those?
yeah,
I'd love to have dogs, little kids, everything on the trip.
Same difference.
and everything. Yeah, dogs, little kids. Yeah,
They could probably go to the lodge website and find out.
Well, yeah, they'd
I'll
actually
bet you we could.
they'd
While you're
fit
sitting,
us, so
all
rather
right.
than
So
a
here's another interior shot. I love the checkerboard floor. I'm thinking seriously of doing a checkerboard floor in the studio that we are
Yeah.
building.
oh yeah.
Of course, then I'd have to lay some heavy rugs down so you wouldn't get to see it. But
That's right.
it was
You
Just
gotta
get
have,
some checkerboard rugs.
get checkerboard rug. There you go.
well, in my lodge room, we used to have a checkerboard carpet. It was shag carpet with checkerboards, and it was it looked cool for a while. But then somebody came along, a member of one of the lodges that meets in the building there, and he was a tile setter, and he donated a beautiful black and white stone checkerboard floor to the lodge building I meet in, and
That's cool.
what a difference that made. Just in the whole ambience of the room, the lodge room. But here you can see this is you've got the ogival vault here. You've got the buttressing outside. It's basically all of. Let's go. In the stained glass.
Yeah,
So
that's
Rowan and
beautiful.
Jesse were up here. Jesse's my son, and this, very special young man. He's special needs son, but he really was awestruck by this place. So anyways, that's one of the spots we're going to be visiting, and also Old Stone Fort.
What
You guys
what
heard of it?
year is that supposed to be built in?
Well, that it was supposed to be built in, or
Right.
what it was actually built in.
Well, yeah, supposed to be was my question.
Well, I think it was started in the 1850s, I believe, and then
Uh-huh.
finished up in the early 20th century.
Okay.
Oh yeah, here's a winter scene. Let's see. This is really nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love architecture, especially Gothic architecture. Yeah, look at this.
Man. That is beautiful.
Isn't it? Okay. So, the other spot we're going to hit is Old Stone Fort. And I think I asked you if you had ever seen that or
I
heard
haven't.
of it. Okay, let's do a quick jump over. Then I'll reshare. Old Stone Fort State Archaeological Park. So we're going to get some archaeology in here too. Here we go. Images, tools. Okay. We'll do another share screen, and let's see, that should be it there. So basically what this is ruins that are thousands of years old. And let's see if we can. Well, we know that Old Stone Fort is apparently
It's
dog
definitely
friendly.
dog friendly there.
Let's see if we can get to some of the. Yeah, they call it the ancient Indian enclosure.
Oh man.
See, I'm
Yes.
looking. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff you like, isn't it?
It is.
But let's see if we can't find
I
some.
mean, the geology is great, but I love the archaeology and the ancient
Oh,
ruins.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So this is.
They don't want to show you pictures of
They don't want to
stone
show
fort.
We're
it.
not allowed to see pictures of the fort. There's one.
Like, no,
There's one. Let's see,
no
but
reason
we'll
it's
find
called
some. We'll find some. Let's see. There was a dam built there over an old dam. But let's see here. Oh, maybe this one. Here's some of the old stone walls that are thousands of years old. And they don't
Wow.
know who built them. Let's see here.
This sounds familiar.
Could be familiar.
Well,
Heard a
we've
story like that
we've
before.
covered lots of stuff like this on our show.
Sure. Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, there's the couple that built it. There they are. They're resting. They've been working really hard. So anyway. Yeah, where are the good pictures? My
Yeah.
brother, I should have uploaded the pictures my brother took.
Yeah, so Rowan has been doing some scouting along with Brad, who couldn't be here
Yeah.
with us tonight. So Rowan and Brad have been scouting the sites and checking everything out, and so I think it's gonna be a really fun trip.
Oh yeah.
There was another
Here's
dog.
the old bridge. Here's some of the artifacts.
Ah,
type of
yes,
artifacts found.
some of the pipes that they got.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
So there were mounds around this thing too, or they're calling it an enclosure. Did it have mounds nearby?
there may have been mounds
Yeah.
nearby. I mean, I know that Tennessee has a lot of mounds in it. We visited some of them. Yeah, look at this pipe.
Yeah,
This is what
Wow.
those guys were smoking out of.
that is awesome.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
And I think that they were,
that
they
made
were
out of.
probably obsidian. Speaking of mounds, yeah, right here in the nearby vicinity. There we go.
Mm.
Ah,
Pinson
yes.
mound.
Look at that.
Yeah. I wonder if I'll have to check and see what the mileage is. I don't think we'd have time to get to Pinson mounds, but
Well, if I'm driving, you're not gonna have a choice.
oh, okay.
Decision
Okay.
made.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. Wanted more pictures of the rock.
Yeah, I'm looking too, and it's there's
Well,
just
we'll get
not very
some.
many pictures of the actual rock work. There's a few that it's really well
here's-
built, nice square stones and everything.
Yeah, here's one.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
I mean, how old are we talking about here?
Well,
What are they thinking?
probably at least 2000.
Wow.
And
That they accept. That's the
I
story
mean, yeah,
they're
who-
telling
Who was building this?
already.
yeah, that's pretty
That's-
much the story. And it could be right. However, so many things are constantly getting redated as being older than the assumptions. You know what I'm saying? So many cases,
Yeah.
like Graham Hancock likes to say, things just keep getting older.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but I think the dating on this puts it 1500 to 2000 years ago.
Interesting.
So
Wow.
presumably was not Europeans, but
Yeah.
anyway, so Old Stone Fort, that's on the itinerary.
Well, it looks amazing. I
Cool.
can't wait. Laura, you're gonna be there also? Are you going?
No,
No, can't go this time.
no, I can't. Yeah,
Laura, you party
Scheduling.
pooper.
I know. I wish
Maybe
I
we
could
can-
just transport, but yeah. Hopefully for
Mhm.
the next one.
And what about you, Mike?
Yeah, what about Mike?
Yeah.
Going on the trip?
Yeah. I'll
Have
just
I been
toss you in the
invited?
van. I'm gonna be there. Right?
I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, Mike should definitely go.
Mike should go. We're starting in Atlanta. He can, just get on the van with us, man. Come on.
Get in there.
I'll check with my wife and my schedule.
Okay. That's a no. I can tell.
Actually, I would love to go, but
I understand.
I will.
I'd love to go, but we'd love to have you go, Mike.
It would be great, Mike.
You got
Everyone,
room?
everyone loves
Is there,
normal
is
guy.
there a room at the end for me?
Oh,
Turn
yeah.
your gain
know
up a
about
little bit,
that.
oh boy.
I
Give
think
give it 3 dog biscuits on your gain there.
Yeah, turn yourself up a bit, Mike. You're
Turn
more
up?
quiet. Yeah.
Okay, so here's
How's that?
this is on
That's
the
better.
website of the lodge we're going to be staying at. Check this out. Now this brand new lodge. I think it just opened in
That's
January.
amazing. Yeah. That's gonna be
Yeah.
great.
Isn't that going to be awesome?
It's
It's going to be an
awesome.
awesome place to stay. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've stayed up at the old lodge before, but
So for those of you just joining, check out randallcarlson.com tours on the tours page.
Tours and events.
Yeah, I posted
Yeah.
the link in the chat.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so this is happening next week.
yeah, next week. So we have a few spots left. So if somebody wants to jump in, I know it's late notice, and we've all been so damn busy that we didn't really, promote this like we would have.
Yeah.
But, I was out there, me and Brad were out there hanging out with you guys in the Texas Hill Country and
Yeah, we've all been doing lots of stuff, and it's
hanging out with Joe. And then
Yeah.
we had the Atlantis live streams and then normal stuff. Yeah, here's another, normal
Normal stuff.
day job stuff. There's the lodge again. So yeah, you can see it's going to be, I'm really looking forward to staying. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. This is quite a nice, kind of modern. I actually prefer something a little bit more Gothic, but yeah, it's going to be nice. The rooms I think are really comfortable. Got some construction photos here when they were building the thing. Let's see. So here they haven't done the landscaping yet. But yeah, this was probably taken, sometime in the fall, I'm guessing, or late last summer.
Well, we have some more donations and some questions. You want to tackle some
Sure.
questions for a while?
Sure.
We got 20 more minutes. Okay. Well, Charles donates again, another $5, and he said this is the one who's going to be there in Sedona on his birthday. He's going to be
Cool.
23, and he wants to ask about the school you talked about on Joe Rogan. Is 23 too old for the school you're going to start?
No, this school is not limited according to age. So there's no, I guess maybe too young. I don't know if we could have infants in there, but I mean, I think that once you get to be about 8, 9, 10 years old, you're old enough, and then there's no upper limit. So no, 23, heck.
Yeah.
I mean, you're pretty old now if you're 23, but I think we can make room for you. No, yeah, we're going to be putting out a lot more information about the school project, which
All
is
right.
really in fact, this thing that's happening in Sedona is pretty much going to be, well, there's the fact that Graham Hancock's going to be there. I'm going to be joined by Graham Hancock and George Howard. So
That's right.
this is going to be pretty fascinating.
And I think we're going to be there for that too.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
So of
yeah,
course,
we're
that's
going
going
to
to make it amazing, right? Kyle and I are going to be there, so it's going to be awesome. That's what I
we
was trying to
know
get at. Yeah.
without any question it's going to be probably too awesome for some people to even handle.
Yeah, well, I might be there too. So.
Oh man.
Well,
it's gonna
I
be
mean, now
fun.
that,
Yeah.
there are going to be certain people that I would advise to just stay away.
That's right. It's off the charts.
Awesome.
We got another beer donation from
Cheers.
Bruce from Batman. Thank you, buddy.
Oh,
Hey.
Bruce Wayne.
I tell you, that Bruce, man, what are we going to do with that guy?
I mean, he is the beer guy. Like, there's just no getting around it.
He's the official Kosmographia beer guy.
Yeah, he
I
definitely
know.
is.
That's yeah. I figured right from the beginning we're going to need to appoint somebody as the official beer guy. But
and we got Bruce Wayne. He
we
can't
got,
beat it.
yeah, I mean, he just stepped right up, volunteered, and yeah, I couldn't
That's
think of
right.
anybody better for that purpose.
That's right.
Well, so should you talk for just a second about the Sedona stuff? Because we haven't really promoted that at all. People might not even really know about that.
Well,
And
there's going to
that's
be 2
coming up as well.
weekends. Oh gosh. Okay. So we're going to be doing the first
Quickly.
weekend at the Creative Life Center in Sedona. And then the second weekend is going to be at, what is it? Pico Diablo, the little devil. Let's see.
Well, while you look that up, we got another donation from Craig Day. Says, thank you, Randall and team. You guys have really opened my eyes as I hike, run, and climb the Ice Age geography near my home and in the Wisconsin Dells area. I especially get chills witnessing the violence at Devil's Lake. Thank you, Craig.
Oh, is the Devil's Lake in Wisconsin?
Yes.
Oh,
And
I
the
know.
Dells. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. That's impressive. So, yeah, that was the catastrophic draining of Glacial Lake, Wisconsin, to use the conventional term for it. Let me show you the second weekend, Poco Diablo. Let's see if I can find some good photos here of Poco Diablo. So this is, we're having this. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, check this out, man. This is going to be something. So this weekend it's going to be several different things happening. Here's the lodge where we're going to be staying and where we're going to be having the conference. So we're basically just getting started promoting this thing. So there's still lots of space, but I have a feeling it's going to go quick, especially with Graham and George there.
Yeah. Do you know what the dates are roughly? People are asking when this is happening.
Well, it's going to be in April, and I can tell you in a second.
It's
Thank you, Laura.
Laura's got it.
Oh, well, I have it but I don't have it pulled up. Hold on.
Well, while you're doing that, let's look at.
It's Easter weekend.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
Easter and the weekend before.
No, Easter weekend and then the next weekend.
Okay.
And we'll have to see what happens. We may squeeze a little impromptu tour in between the two weekends. And we're going to be joined by Bertram and Cleve, who are my good friends now. Bertram is Hopi and Cleve is Zuni. And they're going to be sharing some of their traditions with us and some of their stories. And I'm really looking forward to that. We went out. Well, were you guys with on the trip when we went out with Bertram and he interpreted the pictographs for us?
That was the second Arizona trip that you did. We weren't there. Yeah.
And you guys weren't there.
Yeah, we couldn't make it to that one somehow.
Wow, how do we?
Okay.
I know.
So
so-
Easter, the Easter one is with Graham, and that's April 15th to the 17th.
Yeah.
And then the next weekend is Earth Day, 22nd to the 24th. So you're with Graham at the Creative Life Center or at the other one?
At the Creative Life Center, I believe.
Okay.
Now, you can go to randallcarlson.com and find out more about it, or you can go to worldviewzmedia.com. That's Robert Dakota's website. I know he's posted some stuff up there just within the last few days about it.
Yeah. It's actually not on randallcarlson.com yet, as far as I know.
It should be, though,
So it should be, yeah. So go to worldviewsmedia.com.
Yeah, Worldview Z with a Z at the end. Worldviewsmedia.com. And you'll find out everything you need to know. That's Robert Dakota's website. So this is Poco Diablo. What is that, Little Devil? See, Devil's Canyon, the Devil's Bench. So, yeah, Russ, you and me we can do a couple of rounds of tennis.
All right.
Have you ever played tennis?
I have. You'll probably kick my butt, though.
I would love to see that.
I am no good.
I played some in high school, but I haven't touched a tennis racket since.
Now, badminton, you will be destroyed.
So I understand pickleball is all the thing now.
What is?
Pickleball.
Oh, now
It's
I
what
do
they're
got to
doing-
say though, I used to be pretty damn good at paddleball.
Pickleball, they've been doing it here in Avondale. You take two overly large ping pong paddles. They're like square, and you use a wiffle ball. You know what a wiffle ball is? The plastic
Yes.
ball.
Yeah.
But they use a wiffle ball instead of a tennis ball, so you can't hit it very far, and you stand close to the net. And it's really popular among the older crowd now because it's not as strenuous as tennis.
Oh,
So they just go. I walk by the tennis courts every day, and you can hear them going kapok, kapok.
This
Well,
is
don't
what the
make fun
normal
of them,
people-
Mike, because someday you might be old and out there playing wiffle ball.
I'm getting there, but I'm not playing wiffle ball or
You're-
pickleball.
That's where you draw the line.
No pickleball.
All right. So here's another shot of Polco Diablo, where we're going to be staying for this conference. And so what I'm going to get into, it's going to be a lot of stuff about Holy Grail, basically, is going to be the theme to
Yeah,
tie
that's
it
gonna
all
be a great
together.
theme.
Uh-huh.
Are we going to
you know-
stream any of it? do you
And
think?
what?
Are we going to stream any of it? Do you think? Or
Mike Robertson and Robert Dakota are working that out.
okay, all right,
I think the answer to that is going to be yes.
okay.
I think it is going to get streamed.
And we will eventually
Probably.
cover the Grail stuff on Cosmographia as well, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
This is going to be a little bit different. I'm just using this as a theme. We're not going to obviously dive into all the details.
Okay.
But the idea of the Grail as a, restorative medicine, the universal medicine to restore the wasteland. And I think with all the shit that's going on now, boy, we need something. We need some kind of an antidote
Yeah.
to the stuff. And I think that the most important thing that has to happen is that Americans need to really come to their senses and realize what's being done around the world in our name, because we don't know. We're for the most part, not that you can't find out if you dig, but most people aren't digging, so they don't know. And so we're really going into Cold War 2.0, and we were lucky to get out of Cold War 1.0 intact. So we need some truth. We really need a big dose of truth right now about what's happening. And I don't mean to get off on a downer on that, but hey, we can't get around the fact that this shit's going down in the world, and it's putting us into some dangerous territory, really dangerous territory. And I think that there's a solution out there. I think there is a solution, and the solution involves things that we've hit upon during this podcast right from the very beginning. But we're either going to work together or we're going to go down together if we don't figure out some kind of a way to get along. Because right now, this whole thing is being driven by a zero-sum mindset that resources are finite, and whoever dominates is going to get to control finite resources, and it's better be us rather than anybody else. And that's what's driving it. It's a mindset that's really obsolete. The idea that there's only so much to go around, and if I don't get all I can get, the other guy is going to get it, and I'm going to be left without. And that's whole zero-sum mindset is kind of what's driving this whole thing. Dominating the resources of the globe is pretty much the underlying motivator for all of this. For our foreign policy, it's about pretty much acquisition of the finite natural resources of the planet. But at any time we're ready, we can go in another direction altogether. And that's what I'm saying we need to do in order to survive. And I want to pull up a graphic here just to show you something, because I think in terms of these disasters and catastrophes, and one of the things that I have often used to try to wrap my head around what, say, a Tunguska-sized impact of a 15 megaton explosion would actually mean, we go to a hydrogen bomb. And I'm going to do a share screen here just to let you know, so people can kind of see. Here we go. Let me get that up, and now we'll do a share screen. This is what a 15 megaton hydrogen bomb explosion is going to look like.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, there it goes.
Okay. Oof.
Yeah. So this is a 15 megaton explosion relative to any major urban area on Earth. Now, one Soviet submarine has 150 nuclear tipped missiles. One Soviet submarine. We have this similar arsenal. And right now, the Russians' nuclear forces are on high alert. This is not a good development, folks. And again, a big part of what I've been doing here is we've got to recognize that disasters have been part of our history. And one of the things, like with Graham, that he's realized, and that I've realized, and anybody who studies this thing realized, when you look at the history of civilization on Earth, what you see is one aborted attempt after another to create civilization. What wipes out civilizations? Well, it's two things. Sometimes it's natural disasters, and then sometimes it's our own mindset that leads to it. And, we can't be taking these, what's going on right now. There's no risk benefit analysis at all that I see going on here. What is our objective in Ukraine? If let's just say, if you go back, look, it goes back to the early 90s, right? After the collapse of the Soviet Union, George Bush Sr., he was president, James Baker and all of the world leaders, they got together. Mikhail Gorbachev, who was prime minister of Russia at the time, they got together and they agreed on a bunch of different things. One of the things that the U.S. promised Mikhail Gorbachev and the Russians is that, and this is quoting James Baker's exact words, yes, NATO is now obsolete because NATO was a military alliance that was created to stem the expansion of the Soviet Empire. Now the Soviet Empire has fragmented, and you've got all of these old Eastern Bloc countries, and these Eastern Bloc countries, Poland, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, all of these countries, right? James Baker told Mikhail Gorbachev, we promise, we vow, we will not go 1 inch to the east with NATO, right? Now, what happens? Clinton's come into office, and they totally betray that agreement that took place. Clinton, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden were the primary architects of this decision to start expanding NATO right up to the Russian border. And that's what they began to do. So you had Poland, Hungary, Bulgaria absorbed, you had Romania, you had the Baltic states, you had the Czech, you had Croatia, Albania. All of these have now been incorporated into a military alliance whose primary goal and purpose is to contain the Russians because of some assumed belief that the Russians are going to invade to the West, they're going to invade Europe. But anybody who studies history knows that every time they've made an incursion, whether it was in Czechoslovakia or into Hungary, it ends up costing them a huge amount, right? And it basically has drained on their economy. It has it's just like what Vietnam did to us, or what Afghanistan did to us, or what it did to the Soviet Union, right? Eventually, Afghanistan almost bankrupted the Soviet Union. Just like, one reason we don't have space program after the 1970s is because we had to divert all the money that it was costing us to be involved in Vietnam. And a lot of that money got diverted from the space program. And so the space program got aborted. And that's why when you go out to Huntsville Air and Space Museum in Alabama, you'll see rusting fuselages of Saturn rockets just sitting out there, because they got decommissioned, because we couldn't afford to maintain the momentum of our space program because our wars were costing us too much, right? So early 90s, what happens? We start going now in reincorporating, we start recruiting through a combination of bribery and low-level threats to get the former Eastern Bloc countries into NATO. And the final piece of that puzzle is Ukraine. And so, in 2014, you may recall that the democratically elected president of Ukraine was not in our camp. He wanted to have a rapprochement with Russia, so he had to go. So, and then, Victoria Nuland, who is now a high-level official in the Biden administration, organized a coup that chased him out and put our guy in. And the whole plan was to rearm, to arm Ukraine. And back in 2008, when this was going on, that's when Putin said, you can't keep doing this, right? We draw the line. We've drawn the line for 10 years. He said, we've drawn the line at Ukraine. You can't cross that line. Because look, Ukraine is right on, there's 1,000 miles of border with Russia. And I always use the analogy, and Americans just can't seem to wrap their head around this because they're so barraged with propaganda. But imagine this: imagine that China decide to recruit Mexico and Cuba into a military alliance against us. Well, how would we react to that? How would we react to China coming in and saying, we're going to start arming Mexico and Cuba, and we're going to form an alliance, and this is an alliance going to be to contain America's whatever, America from being involved in the rest of the world, so what would we do? Well, I mean, you see, this is, if you go back to the early 90s, when you still had people that were part of the old guard, who basically were the winners of the first Cold War. Those people, you look at what they said, and they said almost unanimously, an eastward expansion of NATO is not going to gain any American security, and it's going to be very dangerous, and it's going to be confrontational. Bill Clinton administration, though, threw all that aside, and they went ahead and began this process that has now culminated in this showdown over Ukraine. And look, Putin's no angel, and I'm not by any means saying that. And anybody who tries to criticize any criticism of our foreign policy, our interventionist foreign policy, look what happens. You get labeled, oh, you're a Putin stooge, or you're an apologist for this or that. Well, no, you're not a Putin stooge if you're just trying to look at the historical facts of the matter. What he stated over and over again is, and what Russians want is a neutral, demilitarized Ukraine. So let's suppose, just for the sake of argument, that he's sincere about that. Well, there's so many more details to this thing that most Americans don't know, that we're being just like, go back to the Vietnam War and the lies we've been told for all of these decades. And now, we basically have a state-controlled media. And, when one of the criticism being thrown at the Russians now, and correctly, is that they have a state-controlled media, and now there's a blackout on any kinds of outside information, that's coming in from the rest of the world. Well, the Biden administration just did the same thing. They pressured big tech into basically putting a blackout, so we can't hear. I've been on Russia Today, 5 times? Now, Russia Today, maybe they're propaganda, maybe they're not. But that and all other, there's been a complete media blackout. And this is even people who are in there who have any opinions at all, because the fear is that people are going to be expressing opinions that don't support the narrative that they're putting out there. And across the board, mainstream media is pretty much on board with that media. Doesn't matter, because it's a state-controlled media. So all I'm saying is that people need to come to their senses and wake up and start paying attention to this before it goes any further. Because at any point, hey, the Biden administration could say, okay, you know what? We're not going to try to coerce Ukraine into NATO. So we'll do that. We'll step back. We won't do that. We'll promise you we're not going to do that. You withdraw from Ukraine and let Ukraine become demilitarized and let it become neutral. Now, I got to ask, is a demilitarized, neutral Ukraine somehow a threat to American security? I can't conceive of how it would be. But if you look at this picture right here, this is a threat to American security. And there are people right now who are going, oh, we have to impose a no-fly zone. Well, okay, you know what that means. Impose a no-fly zone. That means we're shooting down Russian MiGs. What's going to happen when we start shooting down Russian MiGs? How are they going to respond? See, this is the whole thing is so pointless and ridiculous, and it doesn't have to happen. That's what I'm getting at. When our guy went in 2014, what was one of the first things they did? They outlawed the speaking of Russian. Now, the whole issue comes down over the Donbass region, which are ethnic Russians. That is a separatist group. They want to separate from Ukraine, and they want to, because they're Russians. They speak Russian. Well, when Zelensky came in, what is one of the first things that they did was they outlawed the speaking of Russian, right? And for 8 years, the Ukrainian government committed atrocities against the separatist movement in eastern Ukraine. And none of it was reported, hardly at all, in the Western press. But they did. And they were using our weapons that we provided. Now, this is going on right on Russia's border. And, again, this is not to say that Putin isn't a bad guy. He is a bad guy. But, and now, of course, they're saying, oh, Putin is mad. He's insane. Okay, well, let's assume for the sake of argument that he is mad. Well, then why do we want to go in there and escalate this thing and provoke a madman who's got, and now by converse, well, I mean, think about this. Look who we've got who's got their finger on the nuclear button. Think about that. Now, if that doesn't give you nightmares, nothing will. So, what I'm getting at here is there's a whole lot more to this story, and people need to get educated about it. And at any point in all of this, it could all be over. But then, of course, the fear goes away, and the fear is a weapon to control us. Since the COVID fear seemed to be not working to implement the Great Reset and the green. See, but here's the thing now, if we put these sanctions against Russia, I mean, right now we buy 600,000 barrels of oil every day from Russia. What if they decide to reciprocate? What do you think is going to happen to gas? $8, $10 a gallon. What's that going to do to people's pocketbooks? What's that going to do to the cost of food? What's that going to do to the cost of everything? We're going to be paying dearly for this attempt to form a military alliance against Russia by bringing Ukraine into NATO. We're all going to be paying for it. Even if this doesn't happen, what you see up on the screen here, it's still going to cost us dearly until people say, hey, this ain't going to happen. Look, I voted for Biden. I made a mistake. I didn't know that he was basically just a tool of the neocons and he was going to, push all this thing forward. But this has been going on literally since 2014, that this has been going for 8 years now. And for 8 years, Ukraine has been shelling. Now, and to say that, we're, they're a separatist group, they're rebels. Well, yeah, they are. They want to break free of Ukraine. Now, I feel like since 90% of them have voted for separation from the Ukraine, are we like, knee-jerk, philosophically opposed to all separatist movements? Well, America was founded on a separatist movement. Right now, we're allies with Taiwan. Isn't Taiwan a separatist movement? Absolutely it is, right? Do these people have autonomy? Do they have the ability to govern themselves or not? Well, that's the thing, see? So there's so many complications to this, but people aren't going to know because for the most part, people don't pay attention. And so meanwhile, this is going on. International tensions are going to rise. There's going to be no good outcome to this unless we decide, hey, we're just going to put a stop to it. And I think maybe I'm hoping and praying that this thing triggers a worldwide peace and freedom movement like this planet has never seen. That's what I'm hoping for. That people realize, look, what these oligarchs and elites are doing is threatening our whole planet. Environmentalists, if you're an environmentalist, you sure should be opposing this thing right here, because you want to talk about environmental destruction. Well, you'd have to go back to the Younger Dryas to come up with environmental destruction on the scale of a nuclear war. You'd have to go back 14,000 years to get this level of destruction.
Then we definitely need the Grail to repair the
this is why the Grail is important at this point.
Yes.
It's absolutely. The Grail is the ultimate symbol of healing. It is. It's the ultimate symbol of healing. And not to end on a negative note, but I want to show lastly something right here. And then I know we're going to...
Yep, we're over time.
We're over time. Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to go off.
I had to let that rant go on. It was...
Yeah, and I didn't mean to go on
the
to
chat's all fired up.
That's
there,
right.
Randall.
Chats are fired up for sure.
Good. They need to get fired up. But let me try to show you something here, because there's an out here right now. Of course, Lockheed, Raytheon, the big arms suppliers, their stocks have gone up since all of this happened. But I'm not really I don't know if that's necessarily such a great trade-off or not. But here we go. Let me show you. Let me get into something here. Here's what we could be doing right now. We've got a whole policy that's based upon, like I said, this zero-sum mentality. And as a result of this, we're like ready to go toe-to-toe in order to guarantee our access to diminishing global resources. But here's the thing. Since the early 1970s, this is what we've known. And I'm going to read a quote here from Gerard K. O'Neill, writing in 1976, right? He says, "We now have the technological ability to set up large human communities in space, communities in which manufacturing, farming, and all other human activities could be carried out. Substantial benefits, both immediate and long-term, can accrue to us from a program of expansion into that new frontier. In space, our first minds will almost surely be on the moon, particularly on the lunar far side. Enormous quantities of materials could be removed without any ill effects of any kind. It comes as a surprise to most people to learn how rich a source of industrial materials the moon is. I believe that in the long run, the Apollo project, much criticized as it was during its lifetime, will be seen to have been of enormous value for its lunar prospecting function. A typical Apollo sample contains by weight more than 20% silicon, more than 12% aluminum, 4% iron, and 3% magnesium. Many of the Apollo samples contained more than 6% titanium by weight. That's like 100 to 1,000 times more than the most titanium-rich bearing ores on Earth. Right? What do we do with titanium, magnesium, aluminum? We build rocket ships that can go to the moon, right? We build the fuselages of airplanes, right? Titanium is in great demand as a strong light metal, which holds its strength up to a very high temperature. Its present use is mainly in the aerospace industry. Processing it requires high vacuum, high temperature, and a lot of energy. All things which are expensive on Earth, but will be cheap in space. Finally, the lunar surface is more than 40% oxygen by weight. Strange to think that such a lifeless, sterile landscape contains, locked in its soils and rocks, waiting to be used, the one element we need most to sustain our lives. In the long run, within 1 or 2 decades after the human use of space begins, we will begin to exploit the resources of the asteroid belt. Now, if we had kept the momentum of the space program going, we could right now be harvesting the resources of the asteroid belt. Now, this is something I intend to get into in great depth about what the future prospects are when we break out of this zero-sum thinking that's now driving our planet to disaster, towards disaster. See, when you realize that just out there, just outside the atmosphere, out there in space, are infinite energy and material resources, all we have to do is reach out and go, and we can do it. When I was born in 1951, we had zero presence in space. When Mike was born, when me and Mike came into this world, no presence in space. It was almost a decade away from the time he and I were born, right? Now look at how much presence we have in space, right? We are closer now to being able to harvest asteroids than we were in going to the moon when I came into this Earth. When my grandparents were born in this Earth, the main mode of transportation was on foot or by horseback. When my grandparents were born. So don't tell me, oh, we couldn't within one generation be harvesting the resources of asteroids, which contain everything that we would now mine from the Earth. We know this from the spectral signature, from actual samplings now. So there's this tremendous potential that's right outside of our door. All we have to do is go get it. But it's such a huge operation that it probably would require an international joint venture. Now, in my mind, I would much rather be forming a joint venture with the Russians and the Chinese and whoever else had the industrial ability. And we're going to go out there and we are going to begin to develop the resources of the solar system. But now you've got this other thinking that says that, oh, mankind is a pariah on the Earth or whatever. And I remember proposing this to people back in the mid to late 70s. And the typical response I got from the critics was this: well, you know, why do you want to go to space when we've got so many problems here on Earth that we've got to solve? Right? Okay, this is what, 40, 50 years ago? 50 years ago? How close are we now to solving our problems on Earth? Well, what if it turns out that our problems on Earth are going to continue until we become the cosmic species that nature created us for? That's my point. So I think we need to pick up on this theme and really see where it takes us, because you see, that's the thing. In front of us, we've got this tremendous possibility. But if we don't break out of this thinking that it's us against them, and that we have to fight to the death over Earth's diminishing, limited, finite resources, hey, our future is oblivion instead of
I like
exaltation.
I like the fact that we have the private sector really getting into the spacefaring technology because, every major, well, not every major, but a lot of these major innovations that we've had in technology have come from, private companies, private interests attempting to do something new or something. So I just feel like it's a good thing for us to do that because honestly, I don't want to have to, hope that world government is going to handle the problem because it doesn't seem like that's worked out for us very well so far.
Right. Unless, the people insist. Now, of my mind, look, we've created, there's been a military justification for the creation of our aerospace industry.
Right. Of course.
Now, look what we did going into World War II. Within a matter of 1 year, we converted our peacetime economy, industrial economy, into a wartime footing. And we began to, churn out an enormous amount of fighter jets and tanks and military equipment to go fight this war. What if we could do the reverse of that? What if instead our aerospace industry started going towards what do we need? What kind of technological infrastructure do we need to now begin the development, the colonization, and the exploration of space?
Yeah.
And how about a conversion to something like that rather than destroying each other? I think that would be much preferable in my estimation. We'll conclude with this final thing right here. And this is what we could be doing now if we'd kept up our momentum, but we didn't. So we could be doing this in a decade or two if we had the willpower to do it. This is, check this out, docking with a potential Earth impactor. Now, this Earth impactor might contain trillions of dollars worth of resources. International teams surveying asteroid for precious metals, hydrocarbons, water, or other resources. International team. Now, to me, this is a much more hopeful future than our so-called leaders right now, the future that they're preparing for us. Solar powered mining operations on the near. This is feasible in space because solar energy is so abundant and unlimited, unlike down here on the surface of the Earth.
And you got lots of room.
That's right. So to me, it's obvious to me what the preferable road ahead of us is. And we really are at a crossroads now. It really does seem like it. If nothing else, that's what this whole situation has confronted us with, that we are really at a crossroads. And we need some serious decision making here ahead by people who really understand. And I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of confidence when I look at Nancy Pelosi. Anyways,
how do we get those people to run the show? I don't know. That's the question.
I don't know either. But I this is why I'm so like you, Kyle. I really am enthused about this the private sector space program and what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if given a chance, I mean, they're going to make it happen.
It just seems like there's more momentum, in that on that front since that started happening. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Oh, there definitely is. I mean, we've got, and I don't particularly like Jeff Bezos, but the one thing I got to say, okay, look, the guy is pumping billions of dollars into the development of a spacefaring capability.
Yeah.
So he gets a huge thumbs up for that. Richard Branson, same thing, pumping billions into creating a human spacefaring capability. Obviously, Elon Musk, same thing. So I'm all for that. Now, of course, the Green New Deal doesn't think that there should be existing any billionaires. We should take all of our wealth, turn it over to the politicians so they can dispose of it as they see fit. But if you do that, hey, if you take what the new green dealers are proposing at face value, there aren't going to be any more billionaires. Let's just kill off the civilian space program in the process. Now that opens up a whole can of worms and implications, which we'll save for another time.
Can't fix
But-
it all in one podcast.
That's right. We
No.
need
I thought
multiple
we
streams.
didn't do politics on this show.
No, we never made that. Look, under normal times, Mike, we probably wouldn't do politics, but there comes a time sometimes when you have to open your mouth and speak about it.
Mike came here for normal.
Normal. What's
There's
that?
no
This is the
normal.
new
There is
normal.
there is no normal anymore, guys.
That's right.
Normal.
Mike,
and
you're the
I
last
will
of
just
your
have-
kind.
I'm just going to state for the record, Randall, this is Randall's show and I let him go on, but I will say that I won't go into the specifics, but I object to much of what he ranted about.
Yep. That's another reason we have normal guy on here, because he disagrees with Randall most of the time.
No, that's not
Well,
true.
Actually, and yeah, I
you
don't
know,
trust any of those people you just talked about. So.
you get a choice here. You know, you can dive in and really try to look at all of the sources, and I can back up every single thing I said with facts, with actual quotes from the people who are involved. So, you know, be that as it may, you know, there's two versions of reality: the reality that we're being spoon fed through mainstream media, and then the real deal that's going on. So I'm sorry, Mike, but sometimes we are going to be talking about politics.
Well, look,
and if
these
you want
two-
to jump in and turn it into a debate, I'm always good for that. You know that.
Well, look,
If you want to counter
these two
my facts
guys-
with other facts, please.
Mike
You're
and Randall
welcome.
are friends, and they see different politically. And look at how civil this conversation is
Yeah,
going.
it's very civil.
Yeah.
All right.
So we got a few more donors we should mention, and then we should close out the show. Everybody should check out randallcarlson.com, especially if you're interested in the tour, this one that's coming up in a couple of days or next week, and any ones in the future. You can go to randallcarlson.com/tours and events, I think is what it is. Something like that. You'll find it. If you go to the page, you can see the link in the menu.
And Brad said there is going to be a live stream of the Sedona thing.
Okay.
So
Good.
I guess we'll be working out details for that. But
All right. And we got, is this the last one? Viper Crest? Yeah.
Snack money. Thanks, buddy.
Snack money.
It says snack money is $20, $22.
All right.
Thank you so
After
much.
that rant, I worked up an appetite.
Well, there you go. You got some snack money from Viper Crest. Love from Norway, he says.
And I just want to say that these opinions of mine are because of my love of America, my patriotism, my belief in the American vision and the American potential and possibility. Okay. I just want to make that clear.
Well, that's where Randall and I will both agree. We may have different visions of what America is, but I believe firmly in the principle.
So you
And
don't
the
like the
idea-
idea of us going to space?
Oh, I love the idea of us going to space, but you know, I keep listening to your libertarian fantasies, and I think, oh my God,
This country was founded on libertarian fantasies, Mike, and it succeeded unlike any other nation in history based upon those libertarian fantasies. So
all right,
I rest my case.
We ran out of time, so
Yeah,
let's-
yeah.
You guys can argue off air.
All right.
Thanks to the chats. You guys were great,
Yeah.
keeping us entertained the whole time. It was hard not to laugh. Some of you are really funny. Thank you all so much.
Thanks
for
to the
being here.
mods so
Oh, yeah.
much.
Yeah, thanks to
Appreciate
the
it.
mods.
Thanks for all the donations. This money is going to a
Especially-
good cause.
Yes,
Especially
absolutely.
to the donators and the supporters of the show, the Patreon supporters, everybody who supports everything that we're